Bodyguard member David Gillespie, of course.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Dave Gillespie, for those of you that I haven't met before.
Seat of honor.
All right, thank you.
So we haven't seen you in a while. Catch
Yes.
us up on what you've been doing.
You didn't call, you didn't write.
No, I've been just kind of plugging away, and I'm still at the Attorney General's office plugging away. And I decided not to apply for some circuit spots because I was, with an eye towards the future, I think, especially as a novice, I'm looking at the election that's going to be coming up right around the corner. And I think I didn't have a better handle initially on a county election rather than a circuit-wide election. So that's the reason I did not apply to the 2 circuit spots that were recently up and waited until a county spot opened up. For those of you that I haven't met, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. The reason I'd like to be a judge is because I believe I would be efficient and effective at doing so. I believe that initially litigants just want their day in court. They want to be heard, win, lose, or draw. They want to feel like they've got a fair shot. And so I think that I would give them that opportunity, but also in order for them to feel like they got that fair shot, it would have to be something that didn't take forever to get into the courthouse and get litigated and get a result. And so I would be able to, number one, I would be effective by being prepared, and I would expect those in front of me to also be prepared and try to move cases toward a resolution in a timely manner. I think the attributes I bring is, number one, trial experience. In the years that I've been a prosecutor, and also did a couple of years on my own as a private attorney about 10 years ago. I have the trial experience. I have experience making difficult decisions every day that are sometimes unpopular decisions, but appropriate decisions nonetheless. And I think that's appropriate. And then finally, I think that I have the judicial temperament that's important for the bench. I have the opportunity to travel and handle cases all throughout Central Florida, from Bartow to Putnam County to Sumter County, varies, and all over the place. So I get a wide experience of being able to see how different judges handle different things. And I think that there is a perception, at least, that there is a lack of civility nowadays in the government. And so I think that that is something that you wouldn't have to worry about should I be fortunate enough to be appointed to the position. Hopefully the people that you've been able to talk to and come across over the years that have talked about me, hopefully will convey that to you, that that is hopefully something that I would think I have as a proper judicial temperament for the bench.
You had when we last vetted you, because I didn't have the pleasure of vetting you this time, you had a reputation for getting along really well with defense attorneys and being respectful of defendants and their rights. And there's actually a period you didn't have very many trials, but now
Right.
in the last little bit, you've had a lot of trials. Did you
It
become
kind of
less
comes in
agreeable?
spurts. No, I think
or-
I'm still the same agreeable person. It's just that sometimes cases are such that they just can't be resolved. I think the last trial that's listed on there is a gentleman that was a fugitive for 8 years. He was arrested hiding out up in New York. He was brought back down to Florida. His attorney immediately demanded a speedy trial, thinking he's been gone 8 years, we won't have witnesses available, that type of thing. And so a situation like that is just, we had to try the case, and we were able to get a conviction, and he's now doing 25 years in prison. But it's not a matter of me being less agreeable or more agreeable, it's simply just kind of the circumstances that presented themselves. And I think that many of the cases, it just seems to kind of come in spurts. I don't think that it's a matter of being less agreeable. And frankly, even the most serious cases I have, in fact, I was just speaking to Peyton Quarles, one of the attorneys out the hallway today on my way in about one of them. The most serious cases I have is I don't take things personally. I think good attorneys don't take things personally. We'll all just have a job to do. But we also answer to the public out there and keeping people safe and doing the right thing. And so it's not a matter of being disagreeable or agreeable. It's simply a matter of sometimes there's those cases that have to be tried for that reason.
What interests you about this county seat in particular?
Well, I think one of the things that interests me about county court is the amount of pro se litigants that are before the court and county court. I think that's something that I find interesting. Going back to your question about, getting along with people, I try to, and Mr. Reed could probably tell you this, as a prosecutor, I try to basically meet with all the defendants that I prosecute at one point or another before the end of the case, if possible, to sit down and get to know them and talk to them a little bit. And it's that type of interaction, I think, that would serve me well in a county court bench because of the amount of pro se litigants. We litigants at the end of the day, the law has to be followed, and I don't think that we can give them a step up or anything to that effect, but I think they deserve to have an explanation and to have someone take the time so that when they walk out of the courtroom, they feel like that they've had their fair shot. Again, whether they've won or lost or whether there's been reset, at least they understand the process of what's going on and why the court ended up ruling the way that it did.
Reading through your application, you've had a lot of interesting cases against Mexican cartels and those kind of things. You think you'd be happy in the county court?
Yeah.
Dealing with landlord, tenant, small claims?
I've done that when I was out in private practice. I kind of did that. I did landlord tenant law. I did evictions. I did that kind of stuff. And I think it's just kind of the progression of what I believe to be the next appropriate phase of my career where I can be effective. I like the cases that I handle now, and that's why I've stayed at my office for so long. And if you folks find that there are other qualified people to be appointed or nominated, I understand and it won't hurt my feelings because I'm in a good place right now and I like my job. But I think I would be just as effective and efficient from the bench. Yes.
Is there a judge that you would have, particularly a Seventh Circuit judge, because I know this you are all over, judge that you would take as your mentor?
I tell you honestly, we have great judges in the Seventh Circuit. Other circuits are not as fortunate as the Seventh Circuit, but honestly, I have not had a bad judge yet that come in front of in the Seventh Circuit. I'm particularly fond of Judge Clayton. I just think that he is great as far as his demeanor, the way he treats people with respect, and the way, again, he doesn't take cases personally, that, he follows the law. He often has the saying that he did not take an oath to be fair, he simply took an oath to follow the law, and I think that's important in explaining to people that although it may seem unjust to a particular circumstance, we're bound to follow the law, and I think predictability is very important for a judge, and if you, as a judge, are not predictable, that is, you don't follow the law, everyone walking in should be able to know, really, before it happens, how the court proceeding is going to unfold based upon the facts that are presented, unless there's a disagreement as to the actual facts. And I think Judge Clayton is great in that, and I would hope to someday be a judge half as good as Judge Clayton. But like I said, there are other great judges, I've all over the circuit. Many of, as you know, our judges rotate from civil to criminal quite often, so I've got the experience of many of them, and I haven't had a bad experience with any of the judges yet.
Can you talk to us about the mechanics of how do you keep your docket moving forward? Moving cases forward, getting things resolved?
Yeah, it's a matter of just being prepared and asking the litigants and the parties that come in front of me also to be prepared and to keep with time frames going, there are sometimes valid reasons to continue cases, but there, at some point the justification for continuances are not what they should be, and I think that at some point you just have to say, I'm trying to help you out. Can you commit to me that the next time we come back to court that that'll be the last time? And if you get the parties on board at committing that we're in agreement that we're going to end the case in January or February when we come back. And then when they come back, if we stick to that deadline that we've all agreed upon, there should be no issues. So I think that that's really how I would try to work is number one, to be prepared, ask that they be prepared, and then number two, to see if we can get a consensus as to when we can try the case or when we can get the case resolved and then stick to that deadline.
Anyone else? David, thanks for coming in.
All right.
We'll let you know by the end of the day today.
Thank you. I appreciate
Great.
that. Great seeing you again.
You as well.
Hey, how are you? Hi. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you. Hi, Dave Watson. How are you? Hello. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
John,